Batman Incorporated #0, written by Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham, art by Fraser Irving. It's just basically how Batman Incorporated came together. Nothing more than that. So we have the island of Dr. Mayhew, which apparently is some big supervillain Skull Island thing, exploding, and a whole club of heroes is flying out. Now, if I remember correctly, this was a deep dive by Morrison back to like the 70s, where Batman met up with a bunch of different people from around the globe and formed the Club of Heroes. But anyway, everyone's just like, hey, if this is what Club of Heroes does, count me out. I nearly died, except for Squire and Knight, who were totally for it. So then we cut to Batman Year One. You know, he's bleeding out in the chair. He becomes Batman and blah, blah, blah. And then he has like a vision of Leviathan and some future thing, and he's like, all right, gotta make Batman Incorporated. So he goes up to Wayne Industries and basically pitches them the idea of like, hey, we've got a bunch of stuff we're doing that helps the world. How about we do something that like is proactive, and we're going to, with the full cooperation of Batman, we're going to fund vigilantes more or less around the world and keeping crime down, including in this very office, as we see Batman and Robin, who Batman is, I'm assuming, played by Dick Grayson at this point, arrests a board member for, like, embezzling money. And so all the other board members are like, oh, geez, okay, he's serious. Yeah, sure, clap, 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 Batman Incorporated. So then we see them making, like, some machines for some reason, which all are bat-based, and then Bruce sees this and he's like, no, we need real people, flesh and blood. So then we go on the recruitment from the beginning of Avengers, where immediately Knight and Squire are in on it. Batman steps by, immediately solves like a murder that they're working on, and just says like, hey, I've got another thing for you. You guys in? And they're like, always. And then we go to the Australian one, where he's a tattoo artist. He just finishes up some work on the guy, and then he's attacked by some weird like invisibility themed guy whose name is Dark Ranger. And they get into a bit of a skiff. Dark Ranger uses his ability, or not his ability, but his smarts to throw some ink on the guy so he's not able to turn invisible. And then the invisible guy unmasks once he's got like a gun to his head and just like, hey, it's actually me, it's Knight. And Batman wants you to be part of his team. And he's like, me? Why me? I'm not anything. I gave up my identity. I don't have a reputation. And he's like, well, he said he wanted you by name. He said, get me Johnny Riley. So here, you join Batman Incorporated. So then we see Batman and Robin are going to recruit the Batman of Russia, who I think died at the beginning of Batman and Robin, like in Batman and Robin #1. So either way, he's totally in. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever, but Russia could use a Batman, and I'd love to be him. And then we cut to this one guy. I don't know what his name is, but his full and actual name is Jean-Marie, and he's the Batman of France, quote unquote. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm retiring. Like, I'm not going to keep doing that. But I do have a protege, and he is Night Runner, and he's totally able to, like, live up to my, I don't know, legend, whatever you want to call it. But he'll take my place. So they got the Batman of France. We go back to Dark Ranger, who is on basically a holographic Skype call with Squire, and Squire's like, hey man, how's it going? I hear that you might be a little bit doubtful of joining Batman Inc. And he's like, yeah, like I wasn't even invited to the Mayhew's Island thing back in the day. And he's like, no, you were invited, but okay, so as it turns out, Dark Ranger isn't actually Dark Ranger. He was like the sidekick to Dark Ranger, and he has now taken up the mantle of Dark Ranger, but now, you know, he doesn't want to be anymore, for whatever reason. I'm assuming it's more explained when they actually first wrote this. But anyway, Squire, like, basically talks him into it. Then we cut to Native American one called Man of Bats and his, I believe, son/sidekick Raven. And they're just going on a thing about how they built a turbine, a bat turbine, that's going to power this entire, like, reservation or something like that. So he's in. We cut to the Batman of Japan, who is chasing after a guy named Vaniac. Batman stops in, and he's like, hey, you've been on probationary period for 3 months. It's finally up. How'd you do? And he's like, I battled a super intelligent gorilla and a giant caterpillar made of police cars and a guy named Doubleface, who just has 2 sets of eyes. And Batman's like, yeah, deal with him with X-ray tech. Anyway, are you in? He's like, yeah, I'm in. Oh, by the way, I kind of have the hots for this girl on this team that I work with, but she's like miniaturized. Do you have access to a shrink ray? So then we go to the Batman of, I believe, Mexico named El Guacho, and he's like, nah, I'm not in. And then Batman punches him, and he's like, all right, I guess I'm in. And that's basically it. We then get one last little thing here of the Batman of Australia, who, Dark Ranger, that's who it is. He's finally talking to Batman. He's like, all right, fine, I'll do it on one condition. You got to let me try out one of your batarangs, because he himself uses a boomerang. So we see him and Batman teaming up to take down some criminals using batarang and boomerang. And yeah, they just have a nice little team up moment. So then Batman is back in the Batcave, and Alfred's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Like, I've heard that Squire and Dark Ranger have basically been dating over Skype, so that's weird. And Batman's like, "Yeah, whatever they want to do on their own time." Like, they're all doing their own thing. They're bankrolling us, like they're getting everything they need. Hopefully, it can work out soon enough in order to stop this threat of Leviathan that I've seen coming. So he thanks Alfred, oh, you've always been there for me. I hope I can do the same for you. He's like, oh, don't even think about it. And then we just get one last shot of the team and all their stuff going on. And that's basically it. It's fine. It's good. It just feels like so far in Batman Incorporated itself, like the book I've been reading, the team as a whole, like the larger team, feels completely inconsequential. So I don't particularly have any attachments to any of these characters right now. Maybe now that they've been reintroduced, we'll get them back. But as it stands, this feels like it's introducing a team that I should know already, but I don't. So that's on me, I guess, for not starting from the beginning of Grant Morrison's run, but I can't be asked to do that. So overall, art-wise, this issue looks great. I am going to average it out to like a 7, though. It's fine. It's not great. It's not blowing me back. It's just fine overall. So probably unnecessary, but I'm not regretting that I read it.